Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Live Train Tuesdays with your host, Jim Wiggin with Athearn. And so glad you can join us. It's been a long summer, and it's that time of year again. It's time to start thinking about coming on inside and working on the layout and just enjoying those short days and long nights, cool evenings where you can work on the layout, work on your modules, maybe get a little bit of the last vestiges of Railfan season in. But would like to welcome you back to our first live of the fall season. With that being said, let's see who is joining us this evening. I see Split Rock has joined us. DG Model Works is in the house. Greg is here. Jerry is coming in from Oklahoma. Mr. Charles Woods is here. Kyle Stevens, CJ, Elko Man Kyle, as well as EMP Railroad 93. And Donnie is joining us as well. So glad that you could join us tonight on the first live we've had in quite a while. So that being said, I also want to take this time and thank you if you're watching us after the live. If you've caught us on our YouTube channel after the fact of the live, I want to thank you for that. And if you do like the content that you're seeing on the Athearn YouTube channel, please do us a favor. Like and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into our channel. Also, comment. We do read those comments and we do respond to those comments. And we like the interaction. We like to see what you guys are up to. So with that being said, let's do one more round of shout outs. It's been a while since we've done this. And let's get started with another Train Tuesday. Let's see. I see Stephanie is here. Zap, Jesse, Benjamin is here. Kyle is here. I think I saw Dave here as well. Ryan. And many, many more. Now, there's a lot of guys asking, when's this going to come in stock? When's that going to come in stock? Is there going to be N scale? Well, I will tell you, yes, there is going to be N scale tonight. So N scale folks, you'll be in for a big treat. Also, we're going to be talking steam as well as diesel. And when I say steam, it's going to be modern steam. So you're probably already aware of what we're going to be talking about. But let's talk about our first item for the night, and that's the Athearn Genesis AC4400s. So a little history about these locomotives. These were introduced by General Electric in 1993, and they were built throughout until 2004. These were then, of course, replaced by the Evolution Series Tier 2 compliant models. However, the AC4400CW is a staple of modern railroading. There's about 2,834 examples that were built, with many of these still working for their original employers. These have been working on both regional as well as foreign railroads, and ownership has spanned the North American continent with their long lives. They've seen numerous paint schemes, variations, and ownership changes throughout its years, and the AC4400CW went through many changes during its production. Some are easily noticeable, early units being delivered with GE's high adhesion trucks, while later units had the option for newly developed GE steerable trucks. Other details are smaller, and they do take a careful eye to see the addition of a doorstop, how step wells are reinforced, or the number and positioning of panels and doors. Of course, that makes the Athearn product development team's job that much harder, as these did change throughout the years. Now, Athearn has captured all these details through research and precision tooling to reproduce dozens of variations. The newly tooled Genesis AC4400CW is now taking its reign as the new flagship model for Athearn. This is a new run. The first run has been out now for a little over 6 to 8 months. It's getting really good reviews. A lot of folks have done reviews on this. In fact, DG Model Works, who's actually watching right now, if you have not seen his review of this model, I encourage you to go check out his YouTube channel, DG Model Works, and check out his review of the CSX AC4400s. Now, the one that you see on your screen here, this is a Chicago Northwestern model. It's 8831. And I've got good news for you. If you think you missed out on this locomotive, these are indeed in stock. The item number for this locomotive with the Tsunami 2 sound equipped is ATHG 31649. Again, the item number for the one that you see on your screen that is currently available is ATHG 31649. So contact your dealer if you're looking for the Chicago Northwestern AC4400s. They are going quickly, so you might want to get your dealer a heads up right away. Now, let's talk about what we're going to be offering for this run. So when we came out with the AC4400s a couple of years ago in our first run, a lot of Union Pacific guys were unhappy, to say the least. We have tried to make amends to that. Here we've got 2004. Now this group of GE AC4400s, these are constructed in the beginning of 2004, which means they were some of the final units delivered to the Union Pacific where the red sill stripe. Now I know you yellow sill guys are like, hey, where's ours? We'll get to it. The AC4400 has had a long career and we've got plenty of paint schemes to go through. So the only thing you got to worry about is when we get to it. We will get to it. Now we're offering 3 road numbers as they appeared in 2004. Here you can see on your screen Union Pacific 5555, 5593, and 5630. Details or features that are specific for the Union Pacific locomotives pictured here include the as-delivered paint scheme. Again, red sill, probably the last order from GE that would have the red sills. Walkway capacitor box, high-mounted number boards, anti-climber mounted front ditch lights, and of course, 2004, you're going to have that large GPS dome. Now, our friends north of the border, you guys were quite vocal too on our first release. You wanted to see some Canadian Pacific. And here we've got 2001 era Canadian Pacific. Now, Canadian Pacific classifies these as DRF-44s. And these were built in 2001. We're offering 3 different road numbers that you can see here. If you'll notice too, 8638 is one of the units which wears a special version of the dual flag scheme. So we're going to offer 8610 and 8621 in their standard scheme, plus 8638 in that really cool dual flags scheme. Now, other features that are going to be with these locomotives, specifically for Canadian Pacific, these have the Golden Beaver paint scheme. These are real common at this time, and they're also going to have low-mounted number boards. Sinclair antennas, you're going to have the walkway capacitor box. These will have the GE self-steering trucks, and which is pretty common on these units, the single rear headlight. Also, you're going to have anti-climber mounted front ditch lights. Now, we didn't just think about north of the border. We also have south of our border. Pretty happy to announce these. We're going to be doing 3 of the Ferrosur Railroad. This is 2002. Now, I am not going to botch up the name for you because my Spanish isn't as strong as my French. So we're just going to say Ferrosur. Now, the meaning of their full-length name, railway, is a Mexican railroad. It basically means Southeastern Railway, and it's a Mexican railroad that was formed in 1998. They operate the busy line between Mexico City and the port of Veracruz. Grupo Mexico, owner of Ferromex, acquired the railroad back in November of 2005 for a price of United States 309 million stock deal. That's American currency. Ferrosur C4400CWs. These were delivered in 2000 and 2002. These are still pretty much new as they're pictured here. Really eye-catching paint scheme. Really going to stand out. So we wanted to offer these for you guys. We're offering 3 different road numbers for them, as you can see here: 4416, 4421, and 4427. Now, features that are specific for these this road is they're going to have the as-delivered scheme. They're going to have pilot-mounted front ditch lights, low-mounted number boards, large GPS dome, walkway capacitor box, and of course, GE self-steering trucks. Now, so far we've talked about early 2000s. Let's jump to something a little bit more current. And we're always getting requests for Norfolk Southern. And these are Norfolk Southern units as they appeared in 2023, so just last year. Now, Norfolk Southern purchased these units from CIT Rail back in 2023. The units are being patched, renumbered, and placed in service. So if you're doing contemporary Norfolk Southern, we've got two road numbers for you, and this will definitely break up the fleet. If you've got a lot of the black and white locomotives, you can definitely add these to your fleet for a little bit of randomization. 2068 and 2069. And again, these are patched locomotives and not prime for grime because the paint themselves, as we'll see in a moment, is really not that old. So Norfolk Southern just simply put a white patch on the cab and relettered them and renumbered them. Now the features for these Norfolk Southern locomotives include the newly patched scheme, walkway capacitor box, low mounted number boards, Sinclair antennas, and anti-climber mounted front ditch lights. Now going back, here they are originally, CIT Group. This is early 2020s. So between 2018 and 2021, the CIT Group painted some of its units in a new scheme as depicted here. And we're offering two road numbers in this paint scheme. CEFX is their reporting marks. We're going to offer 1032 and 1051. Features of these locomotives very similar to the Norfolk Southern ones that we just talked about earlier, but these are the newly painted paint schemes, walkway capacitor box, low mounted number boards, Sinclair antennas, and anti-climber mounted front ditch lights. And we also get a lot of requests for BNSF, and so I'm happy to say we're not only going to do BNSF, we're going to do BNSF Prime for Grime mid-2000s. So with their long service lives, these BNSF AC4400s have racked up many miles for their owners. Some units have experienced failures on the road, which have been quickly repaired by shop personnel, often without a full repaint. Again, anytime a locomotive is down, they're losing money. Our Prime for Grime offerings are offering a great starting point for you to add your own weathering effects to these long-serving locos. Now, of course, these are H2 or Heritage 2 locomotives. They were delivered early in the 2000s, but as you'll see here, BNSF 5610 represents how this unit looked in 2011. It's got some repair to it. It's got some missing paint. It's got some primered paint. Also for 2009, we've got 5627. That's the one there in the middle. Finally, we have 5649, which represents this locomotive as it appeared in 2014. Now, these Prime for Grime locomotives, again, we're giving you the starting point. So what that means is the colors are muted, they're faded, they're peeled. If you look carefully at some of the markings on the BNSF, you can see that the color is gone from the markings. It's just to replicate the age and hard use these locomotives see. We're also offering them with the primer, which is repairs that were done while these were in service. Because again, a railroad isn't going to do a full repaint for something very simple like this. Anytime a locomotive is in the shop, whether it be for maintenance all the way to a repaint, it's lost revenue. So they generally try to keep these locomotives running. Paint, it's going to be pretty bad before they start repainting these. So these are going to have the faded paint with road number specific details. They're going to have the gull wing cab, which means they have the high mounted number boards, the anti-climber mounted front ditch lights, large cab GPS dome, and of course the walkway capacitor box. And then finally, we've got a couple. These are General Electric Company, this going back to 1997. And GECX 4000 to 4009, they were built as demonstrator units. The units have been subsequently sold to Union Pacific, and they've since been renumbered as 7000 to 7009. We're going to offer two of these for you if you're modeling the late 1990s, especially if you're modeling Union Pacific, you can justify adding these to your roster. GECX is a reporting marks for General Electric Company. and we're offering unit number 4002 as well as 4007. Now these are being delivered in the as delivered scheme for UP colors, less the markings, of course. These are going to have the large GPS dome, low mounted number boards, walkway capacitor box, and pilot mounted front ditch lights. Remember, late 90s, front ditch lights, rear ditch lights came pretty much standard later on in the 21st century. Now let's go back to the Locomotive here that we were talking about earlier. This is from the first release. These are in stock. So again, if you think you missed out on the first run, you may be in luck. Contact your dealer to arrange one of these to be put on your layout. But these are in stock. But we're going to use him as an example as to the details, overall details. And this is just scraping the surface. So please, by all means, go to our website, go to the new announcements tab, and check out the PDF document that will go at length as to all the details. Like all of our Genesis locomotives, you have the ability to get these with the Tsunami 2 or DCC Ready. Now, DCC Ready features a quick plug and play technology with a 21-pin NEM connector, so it's real easy. These are going to be scaled from prototype resources, including drawings, field measurements, photographs, and more. If you don't believe me, take a look on our YouTube channel and take a look at the special video that we did where we had lead developer John Stackpole talk about the research and what it took to make this model. It's about a little over 2 years old now, but we had Tony Cook from Model Railroad News as well as Harry Wong from Railroad Model Craftsman join us in that conversation. It's about a 2-hour video, but it's a really in-depth video of talking about everything that went into these models. And it gives you a real appreciation as to how much research went into these. These are accurately painted and printed in the paint schemes that you see here. These are all based on the prototype because these are Genesis. They're going to have LED lighting adjusted to lifelike settings. Now, one thing I do want to mention, and a lot of folks out there on YouTube have covered this, when you get these from the factory, the lighting intensity is set from the factory. What most people think is what most model railroaders would like. However, we do understand that some people like their light intensity either brighter or not as bright. The good news is with the Tsunami 2 already installed, you can fine tune the intensity of all the lighting from the ground lights all the way to the number board. So keep that in mind. That's something that you as a modeler can adjust to your own taste. These, of course, are going to have illuminated number boards, illuminated ground lighting above the front trucks. Now, one thing I do want to stress here is we have made a design change. That design change was due to some complaints that we got from the first run of AC4400s. Now, we built those according to the actual prototype, but according to some field experts, they didn't feel that we had done it correctly. Now, you got to keep in mind that ground lights are ordered from the railroad, from the factory, so they're not all going to be the same. Not every ground light is going to cover every truck. However, we still got complaints on it, even though we did the first run accurately based on the railroad's order to General Electric. So future models will have all the ground lights. And if you want to be prototype specific, you can simply disable the lights that don't actually function in the real world. Hope that makes sense, and hopefully that pleases a majority of you out there. The other thing, these are going to have etched see-through walkway steps, and of course the animated roller bearing caps. Now this is just the surface of the details in which this model has. There's many, many more. I encourage you to take some time, go to our website, go to the new announcements tab and select the new announcements tab and read about it in our PDF. There's all kinds of information there. So there you have it. There is the AC4400s. You have until October 25th. Sounds like a long ways away, but we said that last month too. That's a Friday. Place these pre-orders with your dealer, and you'll be happy to know that you're locked in. Now, recently, if you are a fan of our weekly newsletter, you probably heard us talk about how pre-orders are getting stricter. They're getting locked in. We're not going to have as much overhead as we've had in the past. So if you're really interested in any model that you see advertised by Athearn, we employ you to go ahead and pre-order through your dealer, because there's not going to be as much overstock in the future. Our factory has really tightened that up, and that's because we're trying to get all of those models produced in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, before we go on to the next one, I'm going to go ahead and open this up for questions on the AC4400s. If there's any questions on the AC4400. Let's see. Kyle says, you know it won't, Jim. There will still be that one person that will still complain about something. That is true about anything, Kyle. People will complain on the sunniest of days. They will still complain. But we try to make things as easy for the modelers as possible. It's not always easy for production. It's not always easy for R&D or development, but we are trying. Let's see. Any other questions on the AC4400? I'll leave that open for a little bit. I'm also going to go back a little bit and see if there are any questions while I was talking. Philip says, I suspect these units to sell out fast. I have plenty of EMD units, but I need these GEs. Well, there you go. The good news is, depending on what railroad you model, we've probably got them in stock. Now, I do believe the CSX ones did sell out, but contact your dealer. I'm only seeing what's in our distribution center. But we still have a few of the ones from the first run, and they're beautiful. You're going to want to get one of these. Charles Wood says he likes the BNSF large yellow letters on those locomotives. Yes, that harkens back to the days when the BNSF was known as Burlington Northern Santa Fe. Of course, after 2005, they changed their name, they changed their paint scheme, and they changed their logo. And some people like them, some people don't. We do see a lot of folks that like to model the Heritage 2 that we showed, and so we want to offer those once again. Randall's saying, oh yeah, those BNSF units are looking pretty ragged. I caught BNSF 5660 the other day, and we'll just say it's seen better days. Yeah, I think, Randall, you shared that on our social media, so thank you for that. All right. All right, a lot of good comments, and we're going to move on to the next one. So you had to know this was coming, right? I mean, you knew this was coming. Athearn has a model of this in both HO and N scale. And it just so happened that the big boy was in our neck of the woods. Remember back in April when I said that Train Tuesday would be recorded during the summer? There was a few people that weren't too happy about that, but there was reasoning behind that. One is the summertime, we don't have as many live participants because, let's face it, weddings, graduations, fairs, summer festivals, concerts, you name it. For me, it's rail fanning. And so I got to do a lot of rail fanning this summer. And one of the things I got to rail fan was the big boy. And I got to take the lead photographer, Rory Schweigart, along for the ride. We should probably say a prayer for Rory because he had to put up with me for 3 days in a car chasing the big boy. And we also had Tom Cogswell, who is the Horizon videographer as well as a drone operator. So we got some really cool video footage. But let's talk about the model a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit more about some of the videos and photography that we captured. So unless you've been living under a rock, back on August 28th, it was a Wednesday, August 28th, 2024, Big Boy number 4014, it departed Cheyenne, Wyoming for what they're calling the Heartland of America Tour. Now, this tour continued traveling across 9 additional states, including Arkansas, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas, and Illinois. In fact, not very far from Horizon headquarters here in central Illinois. And we were there to document it. Its journey throughout Illinois. We started in Rochelle, where the big boy was on static display. And since we have a great relationship with Union Pacific, they allowed myself and Rory, the photographer, to go behind the stage, if you will, and take pictures of the locomotive. And these pictures are very important because we're not just going to offer the 4014 and HO and N scale again like we've done before, but now it's going to be updated to reflect how it looks in modern day excursion, which means PTC equipment and much more. So let's talk about these sets real quick because it's not just the big boy we're offering. We're also offering a snow caboose. Now, virtually the HO and N scale versions are going to be the same. We've offered the 4014 in the past in the excursion set in both HO and N scale, and it came with a special box. However, it was just the locomotive. Now, in 2022, on the first journey of the big boy, the Union Pacific Snow Bus was also employed. So we're going to offer that in both HO and N scale. So this special set includes the UP 4014 and Snow Bus Caboose number 25809. This was part of the Big Boy's 2024 excursion train. Now this will have special box art, which we're kind of going to leave that up to a secret for a little bit, but we are doing a special box for this, and it's unique for this one-time only release. Additionally, the 4014 will feature details and decoration to better match its current appearance. Now, some of those details that you're not going to see on previous runs that will be on this run will include polished cylinder heads, rear tender markings have been updated, Sinclair antennas on the cab, and various commemorative plaques on the locomotive and the tender. Athearn is also tooling new details as well, such as the triple dynamos, the PTC boxes, and tender oil bunker details. Now, Union Pacific, just to kind of give you a background on the caboose, Union Pacific modified a total of 5 CA11 cabooses to serve as snow buses. Now, 2 of these had their porches fully enclosed for this assignment. These cars were equipped with MU and signal hoses as they were positioned in the middle of back-to-back locomotives, which amounted to the entire train. Now, the snow bus would ferry crews to locations otherwise unreachable in the worst weather. Now, recently, 25809 was included in the 2023 Big Boy 4014 excursion train. So while we didn't get to see this caboose this time, if you want to replicate that earlier run, you can do that with this set. Now let's talk about the details. We're going to start with the HO version first. So starting with the big boy itself, you'll notice in a lot of the videos that are going live right now, you'll also notice in some of our artwork that it's going to have the 2024 style, the new big boy font that's printed on the Smokebox door. Now that of course goes back to the day when Alco was building these in Schenectady, New York. Somebody unknown took some chalk and wrote on the Smokebox front, big boy, because at the time and currently that was the biggest steam locomotive most people would ever see. So I put big boy on it. Well, to kind of harken back to that time, they have done, Union Pacific has done this as well, and we got pictures of that. We're going to replicate that in both HO and N scale. You're also going to have current tender markings. There have been some changes from how this originally looked when it rolled out of Schenectady back in the day. Also, there's additional plaques applied to both the boiler and the tender, polished cylinder heads, polished paint finish, and PTC equipment. It's not every day you see a locomotive that was built in this era, 1940s, and was used right up until 1960, PTC equipment, but in order for the Union Pacific to allow this locomotive to operate on its system, it requires PTC equipment. Now, the sound equipped models are going to include the Tsunami 2, and they will have dual sugar cube speakers. Non-sound equipped locomotives will have a 21-pin NEM connector. Now, the CA11 features that come with this, again, this is a unique body style. This has the enclosed end porches. Kind of cool that they use this on the earlier excursion. It's going to have the insulated non-opening windows, MU pedestal and rubber signal hoses. These are unique to this car, by the way. additional center-mounted porch light, original straight steps, and non-sound versions will have a DCC lighted version only. So again, these are going to come in sets either with or without sound. The with sound will include the Tsunami 2, and that includes the caboose. If you want to see what kind of sound effects the caboose has, you can definitely take a look at athearn.com under the new announcements tab and select the PDF for the scale in which you are modeling. Now, if you get the one that is non-sound, the Locomotive is DCC ready with a 21-pin NEM connector. The caboose has a decoder in it, but it's just for lighting. It doesn't have sound. Can it be upgraded to sound? It's not DCC ready. Just want to let you know that. Now, N scale guys, buckle up. Here we've got details just for you guys. You too are going to have a lot of the same features and details that the HO scale guys enjoy, such as the 2025 or 24 style big boy font on the smoke box door, current tender markings. Pretty hard to do in N scale, but we're going to try to do it. Additional plaques, they're going to be applied to both the boiler and the tender, just like HO, and you too will have the polished cylinder heads, polished paint finish, and external PTC equipment. Now, unfortunately, just because of size limitations, we're not going to have as detailed of a cab as the HO scale, but you're going to have all the things that matter. You're going to see those from the outside. These sound equipped versions, like the HO scale versions, are going to be including the Tsunami 2, so you'll have Tsunami 2 decoder on board, and non-sound ones for you guys that want to use a different decoder. They're going to come included with the Next 18 plugs, so that's pretty standard in N scale. Really relatively easy to do. The decoder is in the tender and can be easily upgraded to the decoder of your choice. CA11 features pretty much same as the HO. Now keep in mind that we don't have a sound car for N scale yet, so the cabooses are just lighted. They're not sound like the HO scale, but they're going to have the same features such as the unique body style with enclosed end porches, insulated non-opening windows, MU pedestal and rubber signal hoses unique to these cars, and additional center-mounted porch light, original straight steps, and these again DCC, but light only. There's no sound in these. So there you have it. I want you guys to keep track. We've already leaked one video out on Facebook. There's one going out on Instagram soon. But we've got a special feature video that will be dropping on our YouTube channel later this week. So you're going to want to check that out. I want to thank Rory, our lead photographer at Horizon, and Tom, our videographer slash drone operator, who got some killer shots of this locomotive as it was going through rural America. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Now remember, you're going to want to pre-order the special edition Heartland of America Tour Athearn Genesis HO or N scale, or maybe both, big boy sets through your Athearn dealer. You've got till Friday, October 25th, to place your order on these models. So one last reminder, time goes quickly. So go ahead and get those pre-orders in. These will not last long when they come in. We're hoping to have these in about 18 months. So keep that in mind. All right, that's all I've got for you. I've got time for a few questions. So let's go ahead and see what you've got on your mind. And let's see what we've got. I'm going to go back a little bit. Terry says, I do like that the 4014 is updated to what she looks like in 2024. That's why I said it's modern steam. By the way, if you have not had a chance to see this locomotive in all its glory, nothing can prepare you for it. It's amazing. I have seen the Challenger before. I've seen many steam locomotives, but to see a big boy on a mainline rail, even at 45 miles per hour, is just an amazing locomotive. In all my years, I never thought I would see a big boy running on the main line ever again. So if you get that chance, I strongly urge you to take that chance and go ahead and see it. You won't regret it. Here's a great question. What about the flags carried on the front? So you'll see in some of our publicity shots and even video in the next coming weeks that there's an Illinois flag on the pilot. Okay. What they would do is as they went through state by state, they would swap out that flag. So while the big boy was in Iowa, it had an Iowa flag. As soon as it crossed over into Illinois, it got an Illinois flag. So it was kind of a neat way for Union Pacific to acknowledge, its not only its heritage, but the communities in which it serves. And so that's what that was all about. It was really, really nicely done. Does the release of 4014 come with a smashed drone or two on the front? No. And if they did, they wouldn't be our drone operator because Tom is one of the most skilled drone operators you'll see. He's not just shooting video for Horizon because he can play a video game. He's actually an accomplished FAA rated drone operator. So yeah, sorry. And you know what? If you get that in N scale, I don't even know if you could see that drone because the drone that we use anyways is quite small. So maybe a last ditch on sarcasm there, but no, it's not going to include that. Let's see what other questions we have. A lot of folks. It's funny you say that, Rogan. He's saying, but I guess HO and N scale has much more rivet counters and those that do prototype. Yeah, that's probably pretty true. I had to laugh at some of the conversations I was hearing from our fellow model railroaders when the big boy was in town. Some of it was erroneous data, but they felt they need to say it anyways. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the community that are very much into the finer um, details of our locomotives, be it HO or N scale. I will admit sometimes I tend to be somewhat of a snob in my N scale. I do like to have stuff prototypically accurate, and that's why Genesis does so well for us. Now, keep in mind that that is a double-edged sword. Many times we will offer a locomotive as it appeared on a certain date, and 2 years down the road, that Leslie horn has been changed out for a Nathan. So prototype modeling is a little bit different, and rivet counters, if you want to go with that nomenclature. Yeah, but it's also important to realize that models represent a specific time and date, especially within the Genesis line, whereas Athearn and Roundhouse, a little bit more open, a little bit more fluid, if you will. Let's see what other questions we've got in the chat. Oh, here's a cool one. Christopher says, "Hey Jim, glad to see you live again. I had a chance to meet Ed Dickens, incredible guy, by the way. When 4014 came to NorCal, and even got to go into the cab and even blow the whistle. There you go. I mean, who doesn't want to blow the whistle of a steam locomotive? That's cool. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it's great. And like I was saying, Ed Dickens, amazing guy. He allowed our photographer in the cab. We were under strict FRA guidelines, so we only had a minimum of time. But special thanks to the Union Pacific employees that allowed us to gain special access to the locomotive, get a lot of those pictures for the important updates for this locomotive. And this is a big deal. So we've never offered the big boy like this before, and we don't know if we'll offer it again. So if you're on the fence, you might want to just go ahead and place that pre-order because I don't know when we're going to do the big boy again. Let's see what else we've got. couple of guys going in. No, Stephanie, I saw this a couple of times in the comments. No smoking. No smoking on our models. People ask, well, why don't you do that? There's other manufacturers that do offer a smoke unit. Well, for one thing, again, Athearn Genesis is all about authenticity. And right now, the technology is not there to fully capture the way a steam locomotive smokes. It's really hard to capture that without it looking toy-like. Another thing too is the smoke elements that are installed in these locomotives. They can be a problem. So rather than deal with legalities and toy-like looking performance, Athearn has made the decision to just forego smoking units. Now, that being said, there are some manufacturers out there that make smoking units, and if that's one of the things that you want in your model, then you're perfectly fine to partake of those other manufacturers. But Genesis, where we're trying to keep everything realistic, if we can't do it realistically, we just won't do it. And that's one of the reasons why you won't see smoke in our steam locomotives. Let's see. This could be a sarcastic answer. It probably is, but why not? Let's answer it. Why are prices so expensive for one locomotive? I could answer that with a question. Why are eggs so expensive? Why is fuel so expensive? Why is everyday items that we get in our grocery stores and retail establishments higher? Why is a pickup truck more expensive than it was 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago? It's called inflation. And also keep in mind that the material that we make in our locomotives, that material keeps going up. Shipping prices keep going up. There's a lot going on in the Athearn Big Boy. First of all, it's a Genesis locomotive. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of tooling. And of course, there's a lot of technology built into there. Just in the decoders alone, if you go with the Tsunami 2 decoder, there's a lot of technology packed into one of those decoders. And so that is one of the reasons why locomotives, models in general, like everything else, the prices have gone up. Now, I do want to let you know too, and keep in mind that all the prices that we show on our website, those are what we call a street price. It's very close to MSRP. Now, if you talk to your dealer, your price is going to be a lot better than what we advertise. As a manufacturer, we want to collaborate and work with our dealer network. So we encourage you to go to your Athearn dealer where you're going to get a much better price. I mean, you can order direct through athearn.com. We're not going to stop you, but we'd rather you would go and order through your dealer. Hopefully that didn't come across as snide or sarcastic, but that is just some of the reasons why all of our things are going up. John, pleased to see you have joined the chat. Hello, thank you for stopping by. John is part of TSG Multimedia. If you've not checked out his reviews of Athearn product, do yourself a favor. Check out his channel, TSG Multimedia. Always nice to see him at the shows. I like Cat 97 whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you about the price. The price is what it is. I gave you my answer. And every other manufacturer is going to give you a similar answer. Everything from shipping to raw material has gone up. That's the facts. Numbers don't lie. So there's your answer. Let's see. What else do we have? I am seeing some questions / comments about the strike on the East Coast of the offshoresmen dock workers. Is that going to affect Athearn? In the short term, no, it's not going to affect Athearn, but in the long term, it may. Most of our product does come from the West Coast. However, if some of the offshore manufacturers that normally come through the East Coast see that it's shut down for the strike, they may start diverting their routes to the western side, which means, it's going to clog things up. Now, I can't say that that is all truth. I don't have a magic 8 ball with me. I'm just saying that there's a possibility that that could slow some things down. But really, short-term answer is I don't see that hurting anything in the immediate future. We're going to have to watch and see. We'll have to see how long that strike lasts. Let's see. For those that are still complaining about pricing, nobody's forcing you to buy this. I mean, I'm just here to give you news on the new locomotives that we're offering for pre-order. If you like them, that's great. If you don't, find something else to do with your time. I don't know how else to say it. Let's see. Tom, let's change Tom's always willing to make me smile. Are the blue Rock Island Jeep still on schedule, Jim? If you're talking about the one that I've been waiting for, the GP15, we were looking at November, and unfortunately, it's been pushed back again, and I apologize for that. Anybody that's been waiting for the Rock Island Rail GP15, along with the CSX GP15s and all the other ones, and these are the ones with the new lighting features. Believe me, there's nobody more frustrated than myself because I'm one of the customers. I want one of these just as bad as you do. And unfortunately, there's some fine tuning that we got to do. We've spent the summer working with our factory, coming up with a strategy because, yeah, we know some of the projects that we announced over 2.5 years ago still aren't here. We haven't forgotten you. We haven't forgotten your pre-orders. We are working through all these challenges, and we will get those delivered. So we're hoping for the GP15s. We're hoping probably around the same time that we're going to be at Amherst. Let's see, what else do we have? Stephanie, I'm going to address this because this is one that's come up on social media a lot, and obviously it's a question for a lot of us. Surfliner Coach Street date, no dates on the website anymore. Couple of things to unpack there. So first of all, let's start with the Surfliners and the California cars. We are working very closely with our factory. There have been some changes. You've probably heard me say on previous Train Tuesdays that we had some refinements that had to be put in. Those refinements aren't just as simple as putting a window panel here and changing a color there. These are operational design changes, things to make the finished product that much more user-friendly for you. Now, those changes do take time. Now, at this point, I'm talking to product development. They don't have a firm answer on an ETA yet. However, we are going to do our best to keep you informed. Now, one of the ways that you can stay informed, and I do realize the website is a challenge. The challenge being that you don't know when your products are coming in. However, there is hope. If you go to the Athearn website, and if it doesn't pop up on your screen, you can also scroll down to the bottom of the website homepage, and you can sign up for the Athearn email newsletter. Now, one of the things that I started this past summer was instead of just having a monthly email newsletter, it's now weekly. Every Friday, you can expect a new Athearn dispatcher email. The dispatcher email will include pretty much a summation of some of the pre-orders that we've talked about for the month. It'll also tell you what's in stock at your local dealer. And as an added bonus, when I have the information, I'll show you what's on its way, complete with actual pictures. No more JPEG drawing, actual photo studio quality pictures of what's coming. So if you haven't signed up for the Athearn email newsletter dispatcher, go ahead and sign up for that now. And that's going to help you kind of budget, know when things are coming. Typically, when I put that in the newsletter, something is on its way. You've got about 6 to 8 weeks before they're actually in stock. So that gives you a little bit of time, gives you a little bit of heads up. Now, keep in mind that the ETA that's on our website, Athearn doesn't really have any control over that. That is a Horizon-based software integration that they're still working through. And we're trying to get the uniqueness of Athearn to work correctly with that software integration. It's not quite going the way we had planned. So I'm doing everything in my power to make sure I can get information to you so you kind of know when these things are coming in. But we'll get there eventually. Well, let's see. Left train home. Will you be making any more Indiana and Ohio locomotives? Um, Short answer is yes. Immediate future, probably nothing in the immediate future, but we probably um, will be seeing something. Gerald says, will Big Boy have dual beam headlights and triple dynamo? We'll have the triple dynamo. The dual beam headlights, even in HO, it's going to be kind of hard to pull off, but we'll see. The nice thing is we've got a great team of product developers, and they do offer little tidbits for me here and there. Going back to the email newsletter, John, our lead developer, shared some photos of the CA11 N-scale caboose, which I shared on social media as well as the email newsletter. So they're really good about showing us updates. So we'll have to keep posted on that. Let's see. So folks happy about the GP50s that came in? Yes, we waited a while for those, and I'm happy to see that the GP50s are in stock. John says, I was told by a Horizon Hobby, that's what HH is, customer support, that Amtrak California cars could be as late as 2025 or into 2026. Well, I really certainly hope not 2026. 2025 does seem to be a reasonable era. So we'll see. They are working on them along with some other projects. So let's see. Sid is here. Sid is probably happy that we're back live. NSC 64 and 6000s, they still on track soon. Yeah, they're still being worked on. I'd like to say winter this year, we might be seeing something. Stay tuned for updates. And Sid, if you haven't signed up for the email newsletter, go ahead and do it now. That way you keep informed. BN Green 1970, thank you for that. I'm on the email list. I do appreciate the weekly updates. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm a model railroader myself, and so I know what it's like to be blindsided with a bunch of models that just hit your hobby shop at the same time. And we were talking about finances earlier. We all have responsibilities, so anything I can do to try to make it easier for you guys to see when stuff is coming, I'm going to do my best. And the one thing I can do is that email newsletter. So I'm glad that's working out well for you, and thank you for those kind comments. Let's see. We got time for maybe one or two more questions, and then I'm going to let you get back to it. I've got some proto throttle programming to do tonight on my other GP15. Oh, here's a great question from Matthew. He says, hi, Jim. I have photos of a CP GP20 ECO. Should I send them to product suggestions for consideration? Yes, please do. And this is a great thing to bring up. Myself, as well as other Athearn employees, we monitor the social media feed, and quite often we see people say, I want this, I want this, I want this. And these are all great, well and good, but if you really want those suggestions to stick, you need to send them to our product suggestion email, and that is Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com. Again, that's Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com. The reason why I say that is twofold. One, if you just put it on a comment on Facebook or Instagram, it just floats out there and nobody sees it. Yeah, we'll read it, I'll read it, but I'm not going to remember that. I'm going to be working on the next ad for Railroad Model Craftsman and completely forget about it. That email goes directly to our lead product developer, John. Now, as I've told people at shows and I've told people on social media, that's not a two-way communication. That doesn't mean that you're going to get an email back from John and you're going to start a dialogue. It's basically a Dropbox. All that information goes to John. He catalogs it. Now, right now, we're in the end stages of what we're going to be doing for 2025. And a lot of the suggestions that we receive throughout the past year are being used as consideration for future models. That's the other thing too I want to let you know is just because you put your product suggestion in there doesn't mean that the very next announcement is going to have the model that you requested. There's a lot of factors that come into play. one of the things that comes into play is, can we justify building this model to sell? There's a lot of things that we have to think about. We have to justify the price of any new tooling, the price of researchers' time, the price of licensing in some cases. A lot of you folks have been asking about the Macs. I'm right there with you. I'd really like some Macs on my layout. However, that requires licensing. And that licensing not only requires money, but it requires time. So unfortunately, we don't see things go quite as fast as we'd like, but don't think that we're ignoring you. We are listening to you. We are using some of those suggestions, and hopefully we'll see yours. So if you do have pictures for something like that and you want to share them with the Athearn team, please, by all means, send them to Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com, and we appreciate any help that you can provide. All right. Raymond says, I'll be patient for the Surfliners. They will definitely be worth the wait. Yeah, they really will. There's a lot of work that has gone into those. Every product developer on the team and every artist on the team has spent some amount of time on both the Surfliners and the California cars. Janik spent, I believe, an evening, maybe two, with the soundtracks crew getting sounds for the cars. He has access to those cars through a Amtrak employee, and took up a lot of his time to get those sounds. I mean, that's just one small part of that model. So yeah, I really think they'll be worth it. Let's see. Tom wants to know if I'm going to the Chicago RPM. I probably will not make it. I usually have another commitment that weekend. Usually, if you want to see me at an RPM, I'm usually at the St. Louis RPM every July. I'm going to start trying to make it out to the one in Connecticut, the Northeast RPM as well, since that's kind of somewhat local for me. Let's see what else. Dan, you've asked this question a couple of times. Hey, Jim, lots of chassis system 40-2s have been issued in the past few years. Any chance we'll see a chassis 38-2 also in years to come? I'd say probably. Chassis still sells relatively well as a possibility. Now, I don't know off the top of my head if we're going to offer the 38-2 throughout 2024 into 2025, but if it's one of those roads that you want to see, by all means, send us a product suggestion and let's see if we can get that in there. Let's see. Yeah, definitely send an email. Here's a question, and will the new Big Boy have an accurate tender bunker like the real one? Yes, we're going to try every attempt to make it as it appears today. Actually, I talked to somebody and they were asking me about that, and that's why we used the drone. We had Tom fly the drone while the locomotive was static. It was sitting overnight not too far from us in Villa Grove, Illinois. And we also got many action shots of the top of the locomotive too. So yeah, we're going to make every attempt to make that as accurate as possible. Sid wants to know any plans on updating the jacking pads on the SD40T-2s? Not immediately. Not immediately. And of course, there's been a lot of debate over the last few years. Are we ever going to upgrade these to Genesis? Right now, I can tell you that we're pretty much at capacity with new projects. So projects that we've already talked about, and then there's some projects that you don't know about that we're going to be announcing in the next few months. Once we get through those projects, we'll probably start looking at that locomotive again. All right. Well, we're on about an hour for our first Train Tuesday. Keep in mind that the Live feeds are typically 30 minutes, but this was our first one. You know, it's kind of like coming back to school, seeing everybody and talking about model railroading in general. I want to thank you all for joining me here tonight for the Train Tuesday, the first live since last spring. And keep in mind, we do that because over the summer, honestly, online participation is down and most people are out doing other things. So we'll continue that process in the years to come. But from now until all throughout winter and into the early spring, Train Tuesday will be live every night on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Until next time, I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe. Please go out there, do some modeling, do some rail fanning while you still can. And above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.